And it all started way back when they were in Oakland with John Madden last time they won on Thanksgiving. So the Raiders very much alive at 6-5. They get a much needed win in this one. Their quarterback, Mr. Carr, 373. Dak Prescott, 375. Look at that. So we're talking about, about 750 passing yards between the two quarterbacks. It was a nice 1-2 with Zeke and Pollard. In fact, Pollard had a 100-yard kickoff return. Josh Jacobs, 22 totes, 87 yards, gave you a touchdown as well. Deshaun Jackson, that was a big deal. Early on, he had a touchdown, and Hunter Renfrow caught everything thrown at him. Raiders covered the spread, obviously, because you didn't need the points. They went on the money line. That was a nice little ticket to have, plus 260, and the over came in as well. And welcome in. I'm Eric Casillas with Emery Hunt, Czar of the Playbook. We say happy Thanksgiving and welcome. All right, first thing right out of the gate, did you like the call? Did you like the PI call flag there? Would you have kept it in your pocket?
I would have kept it in my pocket. You got to let these guys play because at the end of the day, these are guys that are playing to win this ball game toward the end. You don't want to give up something cheap like that, and I thought that penalty was cheap. More aggressive pass interference calls earlier in the game they didn't call. That one they should have kept.
Another quick one. Is Vegas now alive, or do you still need to see more before you're rooting them as a serious playoff contender?
In the AFC, they are alive. I think they are right now a team that can get to that 7th spot.
All right, so Vegas very much alive at 6-5. Big win there. And as you see, it didn't go down easy, but it did go down. Raiders in overtime, 36-33. A lot of points, a lot of excitement, a lot of penalty flags in this one, a lot of passing yards, almost 750 between the two quarterbacks. And we say hello and welcome into Tony Romo, who called the game, obviously, did a heck of a job there. A lot of excitement in this one. Look, this came down to, there were a lot of flags. And the biggest one was 3rd and 18, DPI for the 4th time on Anthony Brown. It was close. We're about 50-50 here. Did you like the call?
Well, you got to make a play on the ball at some point. It's like, especially for a guy who's just been holding and doing that all day. So it's like, that's, to me, that's easy. It's a penalty. It's by the book. It is a penalty. Now, I thought there was a lot of calls today that were like bang, bang. It's like, okay, I guess they're going to call it really tight compared to other games. And they did that. And you have to adjust as a team. You know, if Anthony Brown literally, they teach you almost, when his eyes get big, like the ball's coming, you turn and pretend or do something or try and rip your hand. But you can't just stand there and kind of be like, it's face guarding a different way. You can't do that. So it was the correct call. And but there was a lot of them today. But it does come down to that sometimes.
What's your concern level with Dallas? I mean, look, we can say, okay, you didn't have CeeDee Lamb and you didn't have Amari Cooper. But points, that wasn't the problem. They put 33 on the board in regulation. They gave up 36, including in overtime. What's your concern level with Dallas, who's now lost in back-to-back weeks and in very different ways?
Well, I think for me it's tough because they're a really good football team. They're still not even healthy, right? So when they get Tyron Smith, Amari Cooper, CeeDee Lamb back, they're just so explosive and good. I don't care what kind of system you have, it's going to be tough. And a couple teams already showed the rest of the teams across the league how you should play them. But even then, you still need some breaks to go your way. So to me, the Dallas Cowboys are fine. They're going to be in it to the end. But these losses, they just add up to where for you to win the Super Bowl, it's easier to go through your home stadium. It is. Doesn't guarantee anything, but it does allow you to go against an Aaron Rodgers, a Tom Brady in the playoffs. And your defense can do a better job at home. When you put those guys at home, wow, you've got to do incredible things on that side of the ball to really disrupt it. So to me, it's more about the seeding going in because I think the Cowboys are going to be in. They're going to be a tough out. But this whole NFC, it's just loaded this year.
Yeah, and getting that 1 seed may be important because only the 1 seed gets the bye. And, to quote Matt Dillon, Damon, and Ronders, you can't lose what you don't have to put in the middle. And if you don't have to play that first weekend, you can't lose that weekend. Lastly, Vegas is now 6-0 when their quarterback throws for 300 yards and 0-5 when he doesn't. I thought it was supposed to work the other way around. Can you translate that for me? And is that a sustainable model?
Well, one team's not going to go ahead and change the perception of everything else. But most of the time when you have a big lead, you're not throwing it a ton. So it's like if you're throwing for over 300 yards. Now, I will say that this team to score points. They do a really good job on offense of getting to like the correct play. In other words, if you do all this run defense stuff, we're going to throw it. If you do a whole bunch of pass defense, we'll run it a little more. So to me, teams should actually just play pass defense against them, make them run it at you. They'll get here and there, but they're not a great team on third down, and you can get off the field. Today, Dallas gave them so many third downs with penalties because coming in, the Raiders had not been a team who can just convert over and over again, and I think the Cowboys just did a poor job, of allowing them to extend drives. Self-inflicted.
Well, thank you very much for a few minutes. Happy Thanksgiving. We enjoyed the time, and we enjoyed the broadcast. Tony Romo.
Thanks, guys. Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, here you go, Dak Prescott. He was out week 8 at the Vikes, which they actually won that game up at Minnesota. And if Minnesota doesn't make the playoffs, that's the one they're going to go, oh, boy, come on. Well, since he's come back, it's been a little different. The numbers have been different, and obviously the win-losses have been different. Now, today, if you're a Dak defender, you say, hey, it wasn't a matter of not scoring enough points today. They put up 33 in regulation. Most weeks that's going to be good enough to win. But in this case, wasn't. And then they got the ball first in overtime, couldn't move it. And then the Raiders come down. They get the win. Their first on Thanksgiving since 1968. All right, let's bring in the crew. There he is. Brian McFadden, our 2-time Super Bowl champion, joining Emery Huntzar, the playbook. I'm Eric Casillas. B-Mac, let's start here. You're a defensive back. 3rd and 18 in overtime. Raiders are going to have to punt. They throw it down the field. Could have been PI, maybe not PI. When you throw the flag, they're now clearly in field goal range and they win. If you don't throw the flag, they have to punt it back to Dallas. Did you like the call?
Based on how the referees, were officiating the call, the entire ball game, it was the right call. Me being a former defensive back, we know the rules. If you don't look for the ball at some point in time, especially if you've been hit with a consistent flow of flags, you're probably going to get that flag called on you. And if you look at the storyline for this ball game, anytime the Las Vegas Raiders needed a big-time play in a 3rd and long situation, look at the guy they were targeting, number 30, Terrell Brown. So understanding and knowing the situation, yes, it was a bang-bang play, but if you look at the flow of how the officials called the entire ball game for 4 quarters, they stayed within rhyme of how they were calling things. And if you don't at least try to attempt to locate the football, they're going to call that penalty.
So the defensive guy is okay with the call, and the offensive guy who was a running back didn't like the call. There you go. I see you. Fair enough. Let's start now with Dallas, they've lost 2 in a row and lost in very different ways. They're 26-6 against Kansas City, couldn't put the ball in the end zone. You go, oh, well, they don't have CeeDee Lamb. He went out with concussion. They don't have Amari Cooper. He's out with COVID. Their offense is going to be fine. Today, the problem wasn't offense. It was defense. What's your concern level with Dallas?
I'm more concerned with their inability to run the football. That's something they didn't do against Kansas City and also didn't do today against the Raiders. Yeah, they scored points, but one of those touchdowns was a special teams touchdown. Defensively, you are absolutely right, EK. They have to find ways to get off the field and not self-inflict these problems that we see throughout the course of the game. Holdings, pass interference, those things can happen. And in the first half, they looked a bit lackluster. You saw these guys missing tackles, busted assignments. That can't happen for this team. I feel like they have to play perfect on defense to have some success.
All right, next up, B-Mac, your concerns with Dallas, considering they've lost back-to-back weeks in very different ways. And today, it was really the problem was defense.
Yeah, I have concerns with their defense, and it's not regarding their division. I think it's safe to say, barring anything drastic happening, they're going to win their division, the NFC East. But when it comes to playoff hopes and making a deep playoff run, they have to play smart, clean football in the back end. We talked about the penalties. This team today had, 14 penalties for 160 yards or something like that. Most of the penalties came from guys in the secondary. Outside of the penalties, how many times did we see wide receivers from the Raiders wide open splash plays, consistent splash plays? The first level with Parsons, seeing what they've been able to do, they're going to put pressure on the quarterback, but it means nothing if these guys in the back end are not doing what they're supposed to do and not allowing separation from the pass catchers they're playing against. So once again, we're starting to see this Dallas secondary, a secondary that once upon a time was very, very opportunistic, not providing the same production. You still have Stephon Diggs, who's doing a pretty good job, But the other guys, they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and that's the concern that I have. They've been allowing too many big-time plays from opposing offenses.
I know, Trayvon Diggs, Stephon Diggs, they're all good, and I get why you're saying
Trayvon Diggs,
I got
sorry.
you. I got you.
Trayvon
You're
Diggs.
You're good. One more to you, B-Mac, and then I'm going to have you follow, Emery. Why am I not convinced that the Raiders are still in this thing? I mean, they just went on the road and beat a very good team that I've been touting and talking up in Dallas. And yet still, for some reason, I look at them and I say, I think their defense is at best. I don't trust their run game. I feel, Darren Waller, got hurt and didn't play in this. I'm looking at him like, okay, it's Hunter Renfrow and friends. I mean, they're pulling Deshaun Jackson off the scrap heap. I just don't believe. Am I wrong?
No, you're right. You're dead right. I don't believe either. You know why? Because their defense is lackluster. Coming in today's ball game, they were almost toward the bottom half of the National Football League in rushing yards allowed. Granted, Ezekiel Elliott wasn't healthy, so they didn't get a big dose of Ezekiel Elliott, but that's the concern you have defensively for them. And not to mention, they played against the Dallas-Cowboys, who scored 30 points without CeeDee Lamb, without Amari Cooper. One would think if they had one of those pass catchers, they would have easily won this ball game. The last thing that I have and why we should not believe all the hype in this win for the Raiders, their division is pretty much going the opposite direction. Guess who has woken up in their division? The Kansas City Chiefs. You look at the concerns defensively that you may have for the Raiders, guess what? Kansas City will be able to exploit those concerns, not to mention defensively they're playing better. So yes, this was a huge win to keep their playoff hopes alive for another week or so, but I don't believe as well based on the concerns that I just mentioned.
All right, here's my diabolical, stupid, I thought of this and you have to give me an answer kind of question. Raiders are 6-5. They're very much alive in the playoff picture. Dallas, they're a very good team. Better chance, Raiders make the playoffs or Dallas goes to the Super Bowl?
Dallas goes to the Super Bowl. I don't trust the Raiders as far as I could throw them because of that defense. You had a one-dimensional Dak Prescott who refused to take off and run. That's an element of his game we didn't see today. And they were really one-dimensional. All they did was throw the football. They couldn't run at all. And this defense, to me, is suspect. So I agree with both of you guys. You not really trust these guys, but the NFC is so wide open. I think there's a clearer path for someone out the NFC to get to the Super Bowl, i.e. Dallas, as opposed to the Raiders
making the playoffs. B-Mac, you're giving me Dallas a better chance to make the Super Bowl than the Raiders just to sneak in on that 7 seed?
Yo, I might be right there with Emery. Now, let's, process elimination, right, guys? In the AFC, your 7 spots.
This is what I love. I love when I ask a question and I can actually see the wheels turning with B-Mac right now.
Baltimore, Kansas.
So he's here going through the teams. He's doing it. He's math. He's got a little slide rule out. He's like a beautiful mind. Yeah. He's got a marker. He's writing on a window somewhere.
I feel like I'm a third grader right now doing multiplication. I got to go ahead and get my fingers out to make sure I don't miss anybody or miss any, quality team. I'm right there with Emery. I think when the Cowboys are healthy, I like their chances to get to a championship ball game, which is a Super Bowl. Then the Raiders sneak in to a playoff spot. I think the AFC, safe to say, granted, a lot of football left to be played, but you can count on the Ravens, the Bills, the Chiefs, the Patriots, maybe another team from the AFC North. You look at the South, Tennessee. And what about your team, EK, the Indianapolis Colts, right?
I love the Colts.
Indianapolis Colts.
Here come the Colts. Yes. I talked them up when they were 1-4.
And even maybe the Chargers. So I'm right there with Emery. I think when the Cowboys are healthy, guys, they got a better shot.
I actually think it's close. I think it's a good question. But I do think I think the Cowboys have a better chance to go to the Super Bowl than the Raiders do of going to the playoffs. If I were making the odds and putting them on the board, that's what I would do. Last one, and we'll go with the Raiders who got to win. And B-Mac, you spent your professional life in the NFL stopping guys from throwing the ball. We've seen guys throw the ball for a lot of yards in a lot of cases in losing efforts because they're trying to play catch up and they're throwing it and they're throwing from behind and garbage yards and all that. When Carr throws for 300 yards, the Raiders are 6-0. When he doesn't, they are 0-5. That sort of is against everything that I thought how the league works. I asked Tony Romo to translate that for me. Can you translate that for me?
Well, I think it just shows us the value that Derek Carr has with this team. He's not just the most important player on their team, he's the most valuable player. And when he's throwing and his wide receivers are catching the football, they're winning ball games. That's a crazy, crazy stat, because usually when they're throwing the football, they're more one-dimensional. But in today's ball game, guys, they rush for over 140 yards. 143 yards to be exact as a team. Then when you factor in what he was able to throw for, I mean, this was a balanced offensive attack from the Raiders. But I don't know if they can continue to sustain that with so much pressure on Derek Carr. But it's a crazy stat. You don't usually see that. But like you said, the numbers say when he throws over 300 yards, they win ball games.
Yeah, and I think when you also look at what they do well, they use their passing game as an extension of their run game. You see a lot of short, quick passes to Hunter Renfrow. You see a lot of short, quick passes to Jacobs coming out of the backfield. So they kind of use that as an extension, and those kind of help those guys keep the chains moving, stay ahead of the chains, and you're able to convert. But if you're asking the Raiders to step in and just line up in that I formation and run downhill, that's not their game. They're going to use Carr's legs. They're going to use his ability to throw the football short and also take advantage of those short third and second and short type situations, and that's how they have success.
Look, it has not been the year that the Raiders thought it would be. It has not unfolded the way they would have liked it to unfold, but they are 6-5. They are alive in this AFC, and they did just get a big win on the road on Thanksgiving against the Dallas Cowboys. Las Vegas has a winning record through 11 games and 12 weeks. Well done. Here it is. The Raiders, who basically led the whole game. And then Dallas made a big push late, got the tie, and then in overtime, Dallas got the ball first, couldn't move it. Raiders got it, got a big help on a controversial penalty call, which instead of having to punt, gave them a first down in field goal range. And they made the field goal. They walk off. They get themselves a win. Raiders 6-5. Dallas falls to 7-4.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.